little stutter steps in our getting going here today, but we'll get her started. Okay, going to start out with the darkest value first. Now the value here on the cylinder is probably not this darkest value here. We could put it in right down the middle here if we want to, but we don't necessarily have to. I think I'm going to start with this value here, because that's not the darkest. This is the darkest value we have, but on this one here, that's where it is. And so we apply that value of paint right over top where it is on the cylinder, and that probably is good. Now in the cylinder, it is blended, and we'll do some blending in just a minute here. So don't panic. So Mr. Y is not blending. Okay, it will in a minute. So there's our value as that one here, and I'm going to rotate it just so I can get to this edge right here. And that comes right up to the very edge. That way we can define what that cube looks like. Okay. So there's our dark value for the cylinder. Now one nice thing about oil paints is they do stay moist, and so you can mix and blend day after day. It takes them about a couple weeks to thoroughly dry, and so just be aware of that as we move forward. Okay, so we've added the darkest value we have on there. Oh, I need a paper towel. Let me grab one over here, because we do need to do some preliminary cleanoffs on our on our brushes in between here. So let's do that. Get my paper towel ready, and I'm just going to take here, and we're just going to take and pinch that like that, so we get off some of that paint. Set that over here to the side. Now we're going to go to our next lightest value. We start dark and go light with those, and so then here on this side, our light value probably goes out about like this far. That looks to be about right. This is the medium value we had that we mixed up. At least on mine. Now your drawing may be slightly lighter or darker than mine, and so you may have started out with the darkest value on those. I'm going to move this around this way so that I can blend those guys together. And so it looks to me like this one comes out about maybe to here, and we get to overlap a little bit, right? Now if we mix up 10 values, this would we'd put twice as many values of paints down as we change across here. But for right now, 5 values is probably going to be helpful. Middle value again is what we're being applied, and it looks like it goes about that far. Alright. Just fill that in right there. Okay, so now for blending the paints. Once again, the technique for blending the paints, I'm going to clean off my brush. That's step number 1. Clean off your brush. And then we paint right along the seams, or we make brush strokes right along the seams. And so we paint it that way. And the paint into this area a little bit here. And now I'm going to paint over the other way. But painting along the seams to blend in the paint. Kind of like that. We got a little bit of a streak right there. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to clean off my brush again. Okay, and now painting along this seam. Going into here a little bit, and then kind of going like that. And that makes it a nice even blend going across that area. Now these are about the same value in here, so I got to make one slightly darker than the other on that one. I think this is going to be the lighter value of the two on this one. And so that's made a nice blend across that area. Pretty cool. Okay, clean off my brush again. Now let's go back and get the light value that we have on that one. And so that one goes there. And so it's on this back side of the cylinder. So this is my lightest blue. And it looks like it goes to about here. And so the light blue goes about this far. And I wanted to paint in this side of it, the closest to the sphere first. Now I'm going to rotate a little bit so that I can get that light blue right next to this part here. And that's where my light blue is going. And just overlap it just a smidgen. Right about like that. Cool. Now I'm going to go back over here to this side and get that going with my light blue. Sweet, this is working out well. Now I think I'm going to, well, I'm going to do that in just a second. Just a second. Back it up again. Okay, go right here. So I can put in the light blue on the back side of the cylinder. So I can make that pretty good and straight. Okay, so now we have those pieces down. Time to blend. Clean off your brush, right? Clean off your brush. That was step number one. We've got to clean off our brush. And then we're going to paint right along the seam right here. Paint the seam. And blend that into the values next to it. Now here I wanted to get just a little bit of a light area right here on that too, so that we can see a difference between the values of the cylinder. Okay, cool. And so that's kind of blended. That's what we wanted. Let's go to the other side. Clean off my brush. And let's paint this seam right here. And we're going to blend it into what's next to it. And move it over just a little bit so it blends into that. And then I'm also kind of making some vertical brush strokes on that as well. Okay, so that's a pretty good blend on that one too, from that value to that value. Okay, cool. So our cylinder is looking pretty smooth there, pretty blended as it goes across the area. Now let's get the white. You do have to paint on the white. Some people are like, oh, just leave it. Well, it's a different color actually. It's a different sort of a white. And I do have a little bit of blue in my brush, and so that's kind of a deal. But I'm okay with that because I'm okay with it. Okay, well there's a big glob of white there. Let's get her going. Like that. And then let's paint up right until we get there. And so that's the white part, or the lightest part of it. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here, make sure I got my edges clean there. Okay, so now we're set and ready to go there. Going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to paint right along the seam here, painting in towards the white a little bit, and then painting back in towards the blue a little bit. Flip my brush. I needed to take some of this blue over a little bit. It wasn't traveling as far as I'd like. So that is going to blend right on in to my white, kind of like that. Okay, let's clean that up a little bit. Clean off my brush. Now I have a few spots there that I just need to kind of blend in. So I'm just going to lightly put some strokes on top of those. Like there's a little bit of thing here. I can come in and oops, that had too much white on it. Okay. And if there's some areas that need just a little bit of touch up, just very light strokes, little short strokes on that one to just kind of blend it in a little bit. Okay, so what we have, and when it's all said and done, it looks like we have a pretty good cylinder here with those areas blended and ready to go. Oh, that was a little darker than what I wanted. Whoopsie doopsie. And then just very lightly caressing the top of that so it blends in. Okay, so there we have a nice a fairly even blend going across our cylinder, which is good. Just looking at this, and I decided I want it to blend just a little bit more. Like that a little bit. Needed it just a little smoother on that blend. Okay, so now we have the front part of the cylinder. That's way cool. Let's go ahead and get the top part of the cylinder. The top part of the cylinder, I think, has about 2 values on it. This is going to be the light value over here, or the dark value, right? coming this way. And then as it rotates around here, like that. And so this is where the darker value is on top of the cylinder. I need to make this just a little rounder. Kind of like that. Okay. And then on the back side of it, over here, we're going to have our white. And more white. That's cool. And then we need to blend together those two values. It's all blending the values. And so this part over here, these get blended to this part over here. And so you paint along the seam. And this seam back here. And it is fairly light on top, so it can blend together really nicely. A nice transition. Oops, get my head in the way here. Okay, got a little bit too much white on there. Gonna have to take some of that off. Just like that. So now we have a little bit of a blend like that. And so that should complete our cylinder. There is a little bit of a cast shadow way out here for the cylinder. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But that is making our cylinder